Welcome to Daily Brief YouTube channel. The war continues on the 8th day after Putin ordered the Russian army of thousands of soldiers to enter Ukraine. Russia heavily bombed Kiev at night on March 3, 2022. While important developments were taking place on the Ukrainian front today, the flights of Russian warplanes to Swedish airspace increased the tension even more. With the invasion that started after Putin's speech that shocked the world, Europe's security concerns peaked. Accusing the North Atlantic Alliance of besieging Russia, Putin threatened countries that could become members of the alliance with military and political backlash. While the deterioration of the peace environment in Europe has shaken the modern world deeply since the Second World War, Russia's new military moves increase the uneasiness even more. This threat was felt more closely in Sweden, which is one of the countries that felt the threat of aggression by Russia the most after Ukraine. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Friday that possible NATO membership of Finland and Sweden could have military and political ramifications. As if the invasion of Ukraine wasn't enough, the Russians seem willing to consider military action against Finland and Sweden. So how serious are these threats? Russia, which had intervened in Georgia for similar reasons before, is now attacking Ukraine more violently, while uneasiness is increasing in countries threatened by Russia. After briefly describing the important developments on the front line in Ukraine, we will examine the details of the incident in which Swedish and Russian planes collided. There is no development yet to show that the Russian army, which faced a much stronger Ukrainian resistance than expected, has backed down. In the images shared by local sources on social media, videos were shared showing the Russian army entering new settlements in Ukraine. While sources close to Russia claimed that more settlements were controlled and a large city was captured, the Ukrainian administration shared information about the latest situation on the front. While it is understood that the Russian army is trying to seize the port cities in the south quickly, it is reported that 2 more advanced warplanes of Russia have been shot down. Eduard Basurin, the spokesman of the Donetsk People's Republic, which declared the self-declared People's Separatist Militia, announced that the city of Mariupol was completely closed. An amphibious Russian group awaits in the Black Sea operational zone. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, it continues to prepare for the deployment of Russian aggressors in the Zatoka and Odessa regions on the Black Sea coast. According to a video shared by local sources on social media, Russian troops, which have taken full control of the city of Kherson, are patrolling the area. The technological facilities of the Ukrainian intelligence and the 72nd Main Psychological Special Operations Center in Kiev were hit with high-precision weapons. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that 2 MiG-29 fighters of the Ukrainian Air Force shot down 2 Russian Su-35C fighters in the Kyiv region. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian forces are trying to advance towards Kiev from the north and northwest. The attacks of the Russian mechanized troops on Kharkiv also continue. Kharkiv Governor Oleh Syniehubov reported that the city has been exposed to intense missile and artillery fire from the Russian army in the last 24 hours, and Russian mechanized troops have attempted to attack from the northeastern and northern parts of the city. It is claimed that all attacks were repelled and more than 40 vehicles belonging to the Russian army were seized. Russian Su-25 warplanes bombed the airport in the Chuhuiv region and the tank school on the Poltava road. Ukraine announced that it shot down another Russian military plane. Russia claims that Tokmak, Vasilyevka settlements and the city of Kherson have been taken under control. The Putin administration associates the military intervention in Ukraine with security concerns over alleged threats from the West. This situation carries the risk of reflection of the conflict to other European countries. Sweden said 4 Russian jet fighters violated its airspace the day after the country's prime minister said her government will seek to boost the country's military capabilities in response to the invasion of Ukraine. Swedish military officials said the 4 fighters, 2 Russian Su-24s and 2 Su-27s, entered into Swedish airspace on Wednesday just east of the island of Gotland over the Baltic Sea. A Swedish JAS-39 Gripen fighter tracked the incursion and took photographs of the Russian jets, which quickly left the area. This shows that our preparedness is good. We were on site to ensure territorial integrity and Sweden's borders, Air Force Chief Major General Carl-Johan Edström said in a statement. We have full control of the situation. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has gone on for nearly a week, caused concern among nations such as Sweden that are in the shadow of Russia. On Tuesday, Swedish Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson said her government wants to increase the country's military standing. So what's behind Russia's warning of the military implications of joining NATO to Sweden and Finland? This is not a new statement from Russia. Zaharova used this language at previous press conferences before the invasion of Ukraine, including on December 24 last year, describing NATO as a military structure focused primarily on offensive action, not defense. He also stated that the possible accession of Finland and Sweden to NATO would have serious military and political consequences that would require an adequate response by Russia. NATO states that the alliance promotes democratic values and allows members to consult and cooperate on defense and security-related issues to resolve problems, build trust and prevent conflict in the long run, and that the alliance is committed to peaceful relations. Conflict resolution. In this speech, and in her final comments on February 25, Zaharova framed the accession of Finland and Sweden to NATO as a threat to Russia, described NATO as aggressive, and positioned Russia as promoters of peace in Europe, as portrayed by the Western media. Wrong light. Security cannot be separated into our security and someone else's security. Everyone should be involved on a global scale. This principle is set forth by the OSCE, of which Russia, Finland, Sweden and Iceland are all members. This means that no one has the right to build their own security at the expense of others. This is an approach that the Russian Federation has consistently supported. However, for some reason, quotes in this direction from the statements of the President of Russia, the Minister of Foreign Affairs or the Minister of Defense are never in the headlines when the position of Russia is being reported. Is this a threat? Although Zaharova voiced her reaction by portraying Finland, Sweden and NATO as an aggressive force threatening Russia, the message is clear. If Sweden and Finland join the alliance, they will face consequences. Zaharova doesn't go into detail about what consequences Sweden and Finland might face, but Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, told Swedish newspaper Dagens Nyheter in a 2016 interview that every country has the right to decide what form its security takes. However, you must understand that if the military infrastructure approaches the borders of Russia, we will of course take the necessary military technical measures, he said, adding that Russia opposes the continuous expansion of NATO further east. These threats may sound familiar. Russian President Vladimir Putin threatened Ukraine with retaliatory military technical measures in December last year, following what Russia saw as offensive actions by the United States and NATO on the Ukrainian border. At the time, Putin sought reliable and long-term security guarantees from the United States and NATO to stop Ukraine from joining the alliance and to exclude any NATO moves eastward and the deployment of weapons systems that threaten us near Russian soil. Ukraine has repeatedly expressed interest in joining NATO, but is not a member of the alliance. Essentially, it is unclear what exactly this threat entails. Some of Russia's border countries, such as Estonia and Latvia, are already members of the alliance, and Poland and Lithuania, which share a border with the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, are also members, so Finland would not be the first NATO country to border Russia. Also, Russia has been threatening Sweden and Finland over potential NATO membership for years, so it's unclear whether the country will actually act against these threats if the Scandinavian countries join the alliance. Ironically for Russia, these threats and their war in Ukraine could bring Sweden and Finland closer to NATO membership. I would say that the more brutal aggression you see from Russia, the more likely it is that Sweden and Finland will agree to join NATO. But I can't say we're there yet. Patrik Oksanen, a Russia expert, journalist, and senior member of Swedish foreign and security policy-focused think tank Frivold, told The Local on February 24. So how are Sweden and Finland responding to this threat? Neither Sweden nor Finland take any measures against the threat of Russia. Finnish President Sauli Niinisto stated at a press conference on February 25 that Russia's threats, although more dramatic, considering Russia's invasion of Ukraine, are not new. Niinisto noted that both Putin and Lavrov made similar comments, referring to a visit to Finland in 2016 and on another occasion in January of this year. I don't see a change, Niinisto said. At a separate press conference held on the same date, Swedish Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson said Russia's threat, I want to be very clear. Sweden decides our own security policy independently. This is the principle underlying all the European security policy we now advocate. Before Russia's announcement on Friday, Russian Defense Minister Peter Hultquist told TT that there is no immediate threat to Sweden, and that, if we start changing the basis of our security doctrine, we will put massive pressure on Finland, which has a long border with Turkey. Russia. The important thing now is to concentrate on the necessary defense measures and conduct exercises with other countries, he said.